After taking the majority in the House less than 2 years ago, during the worst economy in decades, we have worked very hard to find common sense solutions to very difficult problems. The national recession has clearly been tough on families, small businesses, and our own state budgets. The national recession has been tough not only in Ohio, but across the country. We met these challenges by making very tough decisions. We cut spending, we reduced the size of government, and we kept taxes low. We did what the House Republicans only talk about. When the House Republicans and Republican Governor Bob Taft controlled the budget for more than a decade, from 1994 to 2006, they increased spending in every single budget. Now, many House Republicans are running around the state expressing outrage over spending issues and claiming to be fiscal conservatives. But when they controlled the Ohio House, Republicans spent, and they created or presided over the largest bureaucracy in state government history. Despite the campaign rhetoric, the reality is that it took a Democratic governor and a Democratic House to significantly reduce the size of state government. And it was a Democratic governor and a Democratic House who, for the first time in over a generation, actually cut spending and reduced the state budget. If you look at the record, the truth, the facts, the rhetoric doesn't match the reality. That's why we're announcing today the start of the Rhetoric Reality Tour, a statewide tour to set the record straight. Voters who are concerned about spending issues should take a close look at the record when it comes to government spending. If they do, they will see both individual GOP House candidates and the House Republicans as a whole have very different records than what they portray on the campaign trail. For example, when Republican Governor Bob Taft and the Republican-controlled legislature dominated state government from 1994 to 2006, the state budget actually increased by an average of 9.7%. Never once did they actually cut spending or reduce the state budget. Even when they cut taxes in 2005, they increased spending. They never paid for their tax cuts, instead putting off the bills until last year by hold harmless rules and other gimmicks. We also heard a lot of partisan debate and rhetoric about spending during the most recent budget, and we're hearing more on the campaign trails. But check the House Republicans' amendments that they submitted. I urge you to do that. And if you add up all the additional spending, House Republicans submitted amendment after amendment after amendment to restore funding that we cut or to increase spending. Had these amendments been accepted, the House Republicans would have increased spending in just this last budget by over $2 billion. This double talk on spending issues is simply unacceptable, and we plan to hold them accountable for continuing their legacy of hypocrisy and their record of fiscal irresponsibility. Voters should also be aware that State House Republicans maintained and perpetuated the state's bureaucracy, which of course Republicans now malign while they're trying to get votes on the campaign trail. Simply put, Ohio's bureaucracy was larger than it had ever been when the Ohio House was controlled by Republicans. And here again, it was a Democratic governor and House Democrats who reduced the state workforce and worked to make state government more efficient and effective. Thanks to Democrats, the size of the state workforce is at a 20-year low. A recent Gallup poll showed that only 12% of Ohio's workforce is publicly employed. That's the lowest percentage of any state. We're the smallest government workforce of any state in the country. The bottom line is that if you look at the facts, House Republicans have a serious credibility gap between what they say and what the actual record shows. This fall, we want voters to make informed decisions. If voters are concerned about spending, and they should be, then they should look closely at how state spending increased under GOP-controlled houses and decreased under a Democratic-controlled house.
As mentioned, this hypocrisy is not limited to State House Republicans. Many GOP State House candidates have contradictory records on taxes and spending from their time serving in local government. We will be spotlighting this hypocrisy as we travel the state. Today, we will be highlighting former Worthington City Councilman Mike Duffy, who is running against Democrat David Robinson in House District 21. Mike Duffy says he's a budget hawk, but on Worthington City Council, he repeatedly supported raising taxes. He also increased spending by over $2 million during the worst economic crisis in decades. In fact, he even voted to raise his own taxpayer-funded salary while in office. Now, he's running for office and telling voters one thing when his record shows something very, very different. Under Duffy's watch, the city of Worthington operated in the red 3 out of the 5 years that he served on council. He also worked for a nonprofit group that mismanaged public funds, couldn't balance their books, and shut down in 2009, still owing the city of Columbus $4 million. Duffy also advocated for not 1, but 2 local levies on residents and businesses. He supported an income tax hike on the citizens of Worthington and voted for a 6% motel-hotel tax during his tenure on the local city council. Voters demand accountability. Yet State House Republicans have been running around the state saying one thing when they're trying to get votes, but doing something entirely different when they get to Columbus. This hypocrisy becomes clear when you look at the record and its legacy from Bob Taft to Bill Batchelder. In addition to traveling the state, we are launching a website today. The website is www.rhetoricrealitycheck.org. The website shows the House Republicans' record of hypocrisy on spending issues. It will also feature a new GOP candidate and their own record of hypocrisy.